Can you accept yourself as you are? Can you surrender to the wisdom of your body? Universal love, love of the body or not, the pressure for change and to organize, the continuation of heightened emotionality. These are all questions and pressures that this cycle of the Human Design Weather for March 18th to 24th, 2025 will bring. Hello, hello there. I'm Margot Fraser, your guide to the cosmic weather. As a certified human design professional and intuitive coach, I'm on a mission to help you to know, love, and live the magic of your true nature. In this podcast, Human Design Weather or Not, we'll explore the conditioning influences of the planetary motions, the transit field. You can't avoid the conditioning pressures. You'll likely notice their effects playing out around you, but rather than you reacting and being pulled off track, this awareness will empower you to navigate the cycles, staying true to your authentic nature and potentially taking advantage of the opportunities when correct for you. All right, let's get into the weather for this cycle. It begins on March 18th at 8:46 a.m. until March 24th at 44 minutes after midnight Mountain Daylight Time. Universal time coordinates, that's March 18th at 2:46 p.m. until March 24th at 6:44 a.m. So remember to convert that to your own time zone so that you know when it starts and ends for you. We always start looking at the sun earth activations because that's 70% of the conditioning field. Anytime we have a solstice or an equinox within the cycle, we have the sun earth activating 2 out of 4 of the love gates. We have the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere on March 20th. Of course, it'll be the autumnal equinox in the southern hemisphere. So happy equinox, that time of balance. All right. Well, the sun has moved into gate 25, the trait of the spirit of the self. It's also the trait of innocence and of universal love. It's in the G center, the center that's associated with love, identity, and direction in life. Now, we've talked a bit about this gate already in previous cycles because Neptune happens to also be sitting in gate 25, which is actually really important. It's actually Neptune that activates the exaltation for line 1 in gate 25. And because it takes Neptune more than a lifetime, more than one of our lifetimes, far more than that, to go through its full cycle, we actually have not had that exaltation available in the world. No one's had it in their traits. No one's carrying it into the world until February 10th when it came in. So line 1 always provides the foundational or fundamental theme for any of the traits. And line 1 is called selflessness. It's all about motiveless action. It's something that you learn about and mature into over time. The detriment, though, is a tendency to publicize one's selflessness, the insecurity of the self manifested in times of challenge. Well, if you're publicizing your selfless acts, they're not motiveless, right? So this is like the philanthropist who lets you know that they're a philanthropist. All right. Well, we're highly conditioned to this. We're highly conditioned that there needs to be a motive and motivation for every action. And now we're going to potentially get the opportunity to learn about and gain wisdom about True selflessness. Well, it's not that the detriment is necessarily a bad thing. It carries an insecurity with it, having to publicize that selflessness. Line ones always have this theme of security and insecurity. So it has us asking those questions. Who am I? Why am I here? In the detriment, though, there can also be this drive to identify as something and with something. So this can bring and be a really great time to look at the groups that you may be involved with and contemplate, are you gaining your sense of individual identity actually through the group? Well, I think it's pretty cool that in our lifetime, there's now going to be this potential to experience the exaltation. What it says is the universalization of activity, psychic attunement that is its own reward, the potential for centering through attunement to challenges. Yeah, challenges. This is a gate that points to the ego center, to gate 51 in the heart center. The ego center, also called the heart center, is a motor that generates willpower. And that electromagnetic gate 51 is the trait of shock. It's a very powerful ego gate. This is where the heart of the warrior is. And the heart of the warrior says, I have the power. It's meeting this gate 25 that we have, the spirit of the warrior, that says simply, power exists. Gate 25 is part of the individual circuitry, which is about bringing mutation through, bringing something new in a pulse of knowing. And it can be very empowering. With this gate 25 frequency, we are likely to meet shocks of gate 51 coming through. The question is, can you adapt to these shocks or will you withdraw? It's part of the channel of initiation. So the 25 with the 51 creates this channel of initiation, which can be deeply competitive with others. But in its highest form, it's really about being competitive with yourself, stretching your own limits, pushing into the unknown potentials within you. And gate 25 can also support you in maintaining your innocence, the wonder and the awe that the power is there. Also supports you in delving into those root motives for your own actions. In turn, that's going to help you move more deeply into yourself, understanding yourself and what motivates you. It's part of the centering circuit that's about being centered in yourself, which means accepting yourself and maintaining innocence, maintaining your unique self, no matter what the circumstances are around you. So the gate keynote is the perfection of action through an uncontrived and spontaneous nature. We all go through trials in life, and this frequency is about maintaining that innocence, not to be confused with naivete through those trials. In that way, the trials can become initiations that move you more deeply into yourself and out of the conditioning of society. So the potential opportunities here, those trials do stretch you. They show you your capabilities. This is the spirit of the self, the spirit of the warrior, not getting caught up in that ego that's on the other side, maintaining that innocence even in a competitive atmosphere. And there's the potential for then becoming more deeply centered within yourself as you move through the trials and the challenges of life. This is also the frequency of self love, loving all things equally, whether that's a plant or a rock or a mineral or animal, person, whatever it is. So at a personal level, it can seem like a more cool type of love. Like, what? You don't love me more than that tree or that crystal? Right? It's everything equally. It really helps us to bring compassion to all beings. Now, the caution here in the polarity, this frequency could bring a lack of compassion for other beings. And rather than being centered in your unique individuality, simply moving from being not self conditioned by one person or group to another. Instead of being simply selfless in the now, needing that recognition for the selflessness, the ego being involved and not looking at what's driving your actions. The earth has moved into gate 46, the trait of determination of the self, pushing upward, and love of the vessel, the body vessel, also in the G center. Gate 46 is part of the experiential abstract circuitry, going through cycles of experiences to reflect and learn. Its keynote says good fortune that may be perceived as the result of serendipity, but derives from effort and dedication to the experience, surrendering to it, just being in the now. Even though the experiential circuitry is ultimately about reflecting on the experiences to gain that wisdom so that we don't have to repeat our mistakes and can evolve, this particular gate is quite existential. Be here now, be in the body, in your life, in your experiences of life without expectations. We live our life through the body, and it has a built in ability to guide you to be at the right place at the right time. That's serendipity. But it requires surrender of the mind to what it thinks you should be or what it thinks the outcome of an experience should be. So, this is the potential opportunity to love your body vessel, to allow it to guide you and surrender to that, to come into a deeper trust of the wisdom of your body. When you let your body guide you through your strategy and authority, your body and yourself will be at the right place at the right time. Now, it's the gate of determination of the self. The body requires your determined caring, love of the vessel, to feed it, to nurture it. So, this is a frequency that could support you in doing that. The cautions here, well, at the same time, the polarity can be there as well. Hate of the body, being at the wrong place at the wrong time. You may hear people or even yourself, if you're in that place, right, getting down on the body, not being satisfied, complaining about unmet expectations or things never lining up in a serendipitous way. Whatever experience you're in, these frequencies are really about being in it for the sake of the experience itself. It's about the journey, not the outcome. Then the body, when you're really in it, living your life through your body, it can be productive in whatever the experience brings. And then you can be, when the experience is over, productive and effective in that reflection. So when we put these two traits together, they can support you in being your unique self and accepting yourself as you are, being in that innocence, to be in the experience for whatever it brings. You might get to the root of why you're not accepting yourself, or it could simply bring being competitive out of ego motivations in a way that punishes the body. All right, let's move into looking at the channels that are being created this cycle. When the transit field creates a channel, everyone that doesn't already have it in their chart is receiving the activation of the related traits and qualities. So it has quite a large impact in that way. Our long-term channel that we've had since February, it's going into the beginning of April, April 7th. Well, yeah, we've got Jupiter sitting in that gate 35 position, the trait of progress and change in the throat center. And that's connecting with its electromagnetic, the trait of crisis, gate 36 in the emotional center, the solar plexus center, being activated by the north node of the moon and also being activated now by Saturn. We'll talk more about that in the long term transits. Now, this creates the channel of transitoriness, the design of the jack of all trades. The rule of thumb is to never repeat an experience, but to move from one experience to another, hence the transitoriness. So we have the emotional center connecting to the throat center. That emotional center is a motor, the motor that generates the emotional wave, the ups and downs of emotions. And it's also an awareness center, our emotional intelligence, our emotional awareness. This is going to be a pushy energy, motor going right up to the throat. So there can be emotional volatility here, those feelings coming out. It can also support us in moving into a new experience. That's the pressure that it's bringing. Go into a new experience. It's the pressure to change something in your life. So the crisis of gate 36 is being a novice because you don't have the experience yet. And so there can be a sense or a fear of inadequacy that comes with this. So just pay attention if you're noticing that coming in for you. Oh, is that really true? Or is that just my not self, the way it's interpreting these frequencies that are moving through me? Now, the potential opportunity, if it's correct for you, according to your own strategy and authority, is to enter into a new experience or move to the next phase for an experience you may already be in, or bring something to completion, getting to that gate 35 in the throat where you can articulate the change and progress and how you feel. This is a channel where you can share your feelings about an experience. It's a very creative channel. It's the place where you can find all the different ways of experiencing things. You know, how many ways can you use a brick? It can also be very hot sexually speaking, right? Let's try something new. And it's totally impersonal, by the way. It's all about the experience, not so much about the others that are involved in that experience. The caution here is that there can't be any expectation of what the experience will bring. There can be the voice of, I'm bored here, right? When you complete an experience and you get to that gate 35, if there's nothing new coming up, nothing new to embark on, I'm bored. It can also be the voice of, I feel. And most often, I feel like a change. If you enter into an experience out of this pressure and not out of your strategy and authority, it's going to bring frustration, anger, disappointment, bitterness, depending on your type, at unmet expectations. And there could be a real sense of feeling stuck. Okay. We do have a more medium term channel coming in March 22nd at 2:17 a.m. and going until March 29th, which will take us into the next cycle at 5:04 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. Universal time coordinates, that's March 22nd at 8:17 a.m., going until March 29th at 11:04 p.m. Mercury is going to be moving into gate 17, the trait of opinions in the Ajna center, second triangle from the top. That's your mental awareness center. right? All the stuff the mind processes, the analyzing, the conceptualizing, the comparing, and so on. It's with us for a longer period of time because this is going to overlap into the next cycle where the sun will be activating that gate 17. And it's connecting with its electromagnetic gate 62 in the throat center, which is the trait of detail, which is being activated by Mars. Together, these create the channel of acceptance, the design of an organizational being. It's part of the mental logic circuitry, which is about mentally finding those patterns to carry us into the future. Acceptance of logic is here. It's the channel where the theories, the opinions of Gate 17 go through a process to get all the facts and details in place to be able to substantiate those opinions and then be able to articulate them with all those facts and details in place. So the potential opportunities this brings is to get into the details and organize your facts around something that maybe you need to present or any theories that you have. So if you've got some detail work to do at a mental level, oh, this could be really helpful. It's a channel that's really great at organizing people and things, right? All the hierarchies, all like, orienting things, getting the patterns to fit together, the formula. Yeah. So that could be helpful as well. Gate 62 is also really good at naming things. So if you have to name a project or a program or a thing, whatever it might be, this could be a really great period for coming up with that. The cautions here: blurting out theories and opinions without being invited to do so. And if you haven't gone through that full process of getting the details and facts in place, you could be called out on that. Gate 17 carries anxiety about being challenged. And if you don't have the facts and details in place, yep, you might be challenged. There could also be blurting out opinions from all that pressure and not being heard, or droning on if it hasn't been invited. But you've got all your details and facts. That pressure is going to have you want to share them all. This is collective. But if it wasn't invited, it could be really boring for others that are listening to you, and they might just start tuning you out. Now, with any of the mental processes, they do end in the throat. There's no action for you to take out of what happens in the mind. So we refer to the mind as your outer authority. It's where you can share your understanding, your wisdom with others. And that may prompt them through their strategy and authority to take that information and take action on it, do something about it. But trying to live out the mental thoughts instead of living through the body, something that's really in the frequency this cycle, using your strategy and authority can lead to the anger, the frustration, the bitterness, the disappointment. But most people are doing this, living from the mind. So when we look at this period where we've got this channel of acceptance along with the channel of transitoriness with its pressure to change and move through a new experience, you're going to have to really watch for wanting to take action on your mental understanding, your opinions, your theories, making change in your life out of that pressure. Right? The facts dictate that I need to make this change. That channel of acceptance, wow, it can have you making all the pros and cons lists and so on, taking you out of the body, taking you out of your own strategy and authority. So just something to watch over there. We have one channel being created by the transit of the moon, which means it's just a little taster, a little sampler, because the moon only stays in a gate for about 10 to 11 hours, give or take. So this one comes in on March 18th. at 3:50 p.m. and it's going until March 19th at 3:11 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. UTC, that's March 18th at 9:50 p.m. until 9:11 a.m. on the 19th. We have the moon moving into gate 43, the trait of individual insight, another one in the Ajna center, the seat of the mind. It's connecting with its electromagnetic gate 23, the trait of assimilation in the throat center, being activated by Uranus. This is creating the channel of structuring, a design of individuality. As part of the individual circuitry, it operates in a pulse of knowing. We affectionately call this channel genius to freak. It's where individual insights are structured into a way that can be clearly explained to others. That insight could really be seen as genius then and bring through mutation. It's what all the individual circuitry wants to do, bring through mutation, bringing through, in this case, a new perspective. That's the opportunity that this channel brings. Individual circuitry, yeah, pulses of knowing coming through, bringing through something new. It's not about making sense like the abstract circuitry of the mind, or logic, coming up with theories and formulas, understanding patterns to carry us into the future, like the logic side. It's just a knowing in the now that comes through in a pulse. And the structuring here is being able to structure those knowings so that other people can take them in and do something with them. It can bring greater tolerance when we have this understanding, this knowing that comes through. However, insight that's just blurted out, uninvited, and can't be clearly explained is just going to create confusion. It's just going to seem weird, likely to be ignored. And once again, any insights that come through the mental process are not likely for you to do anything about. That brings us to our long-term transits. The long-term transits are created by the outer planets and the nodes of the moon. They're with us for longer periods of time, years in some cases. So the not self mind could start to think they're part of you, even when it's not something that you have in your own design. We continue to have that emotionality here with that pressure, as we've already talked about, to enter a new experience, to have change that channel of transitoriness brings. However, of course, that might not be correct for you according to your own strategy and authority. Gate 35, that trait of progress and change in the throat, is in line 3 now, called collaboration. This is Jupiter, so it could bring an expansion of either the encouragement around change, bringing change that benefits everyone. It's collective, it's for all of humanity. This isn't the tribe. It's only about my community. In the detriment, there can be an expansion of the ego need to be seen as I'm the one bringing the progress. Look at me. Gate 36, the trait of crisis in the emotional center, continues to be activated by the north node of the moon. But on March 16th, Saturn also moved into that gate, this trait. Now, the North Node is about our perspective and our direction. What do we see when we look out into the world? Well, yeah, we do see crisis. We do see change. Saturn brings a different quality to gate 36. It brings limitation, constraints, discipline, consequences. It's in line 1 and it's in detriment. So line 1's called resistance. If you're not being open to the changes that really need to be made and moving through the crisis of an experience, Saturn's going to bring consequences. Saturn can also help you to be disciplined in moving through the change. The south node of the moon is sitting in gate 6, the trait of conflict and friction in the emotional center. It's in line 6, which is called the peacemaker, and has a learning theme that comes with maturity that says the discipline and integrity of a superior force to unilaterally cease conflict to permit surrender and survival of its foe. The exaltation says the highest form of reason is that life is sacred. However, what we tend to see out in the world, and it's certainly something if you're watching the news, the detriment, the peacemaker whose actions are just, but whose terms are unacceptable. The emotional power to end conflict, but only after one's conditions have been satisfied. All right. Well, the collective 36 and the tribal gate 6 and the emotional center being activated here in the north and south nodes of the moon are both social. Going through experience will inevitably bring friction to relationships that could support the growth or not. The relationship could devolve. All right, gate 23, Uranus position. It's in the trait of assimilation in the throat center. We talked about that with the moon's channel, bringing that potential for a unique and unusual expression that could shift perspectives. It's in line 6, though, which again means there's going to be a reluctance to bring through that expression unless you could see that it will really have the impact that you want. Will what I know really make a difference? In the context of the channel of transitoriness and gate 6, the conflict and friction, it could be something like, what do I know that will help move through this change and the friction that it brings? Or I don't think what I know is really going to make a difference to this conflict and moving through this change. Neptune sitting that gate 25, as we discussed, the individual trait of innocence, spirit of the self, and universal love, or not, the polarity. It's sitting in line 2, which is called the existentialist. Be here now. Accept what is, no matter what shocks come in. Neptune's watery nature could make it difficult to connect to that on one hand, but it could also unveil how not accepting yourself and being here in the now prevents you from meeting the unknown in a way that allows you to adapt. So you could really learn from that. Pluto in gate 41, the trait of contraction and decrease. This is part of the abstract experiential circuitry. It's the gate of daydreaming, of fantasizing about the next experience that you want to have. Also sitting in line 2, which is called caution. It has a learning theme that says humanism tempered by pragmatism. Be practical. So you could fantasize here about wanting to help others. This is a collective gate after all. But with line 2, there might not actually be any action taking out of that. Or you could want others to recognize your feelings, your dreams for humanity, these great dreams that you have about how things could go for us, in the expectation that you'll get something out of that from the other. Remember that for any of these traits, if you don't have them in your design, it's just pressure. It's just pressure from the transit field. When you look out at the world, you'll see these things playing out. You can learn from it. But whether it's actually something for you to do or engage with is according to your own strategy and authority, rather than being run or puppeted by the conditioning field. That brings us to the end of the cosmic weather for this cycle. If you want to run your own chart, you can go to jovianarchive.com. And if you are new to human design and you just want to understand some of the basics of the chart, what's the red and the black about, the geometric shapes, a bit of background on the system itself, you can grab my free Human Design Basics mini course. It's at margotgfraser.com/human-design. You'll also see various opportunities for readings there to help you understand your design in a deeper way if you're drawn to that. If you enjoyed this podcast, I would be very grateful if you could like this episode and consider subscribing to the podcast. Okay, surfboards are still out to ride these emotional waves. This is a really really long ride. It's a really long wave that we're on. Watch that you're not jumping into a new experience to make change in your life out of this pressure rather than your strategy and your authority. Let this cycle support you in coming into deeper love and acceptance of yourself, of your body vessel, and connecting with that universal love. Once that logical channel of acceptance comes in on the 22nd, it is going to bring a busy mind that wants to plan and organize and delve into the details. Use it if it's correct for you. Observe your mind and watch that it's not running your life. Have a great cycle. Be kind to one another, and may you know, live, and love the magic of your true nature. Until next time, bye for now.